Please subscribe, like and activate the bell if you like the content, so we can continue for more. Give your opinions and suggestions in the comments so that we can develop the channel. Thank you. Sail is an ancient Moroccan city located on the north bank of the Breg River, to the right of its mouth in the Atlantic Ocean, near the Moroccan capital, Rabat. In the past it was called Chilla. The city experienced its vigor and prosperity during the time of the Almohads and the Marinids. The city experienced a civilized development, which was reflected in a number of achievements, the main one being the Great Mosque, which was established by Yaqoub al-Mansur al-Muwahhid in 1196. The era of the Marinids, the 14th century AD, is considered a period of unprecedented urban and cultural prosperity. The city of Sail throughout Islamic history is an important crossing point between Islamic cities and the capitals that ruled Morocco, such as Fez and Marrakesh. And thanks to the presence of a port on the coast of the city, which has become a center of trade between Morocco and Europe, which in turn has led to stability and continuity of activity commercial and industrial until the 19th century AD. During the Saadian period, in the 17th century AD, the migration of Andalusians from the Iberian Peninsula continued and established an entity independent of the central authority in Marrakesh known as the Republic of Breg, and they intensified their maritime activity, which gives a new breath to the city and its inhabitants to compete economically with its neighbor the city of Rabat, and this period is considered in the history of the city of Sail as a period of apogee and prosperity. During the 19th century AD, the city's affairs were affected, as it experienced the kind of stagnation and isolation due to the decline of its commercial activity, so it became interested in religious and cultural aspects until to the period of the French Protectorate, with which the fate of the city and its system became linked to historical events that passed. At the archaeological site of Chilla, archaeological excavations that took place in the 50s and 60s of the 19th century indicate that man settled in this region from the Paleolithic and Neolithic eras, thanks to the discovery of skeletons and traces of prehistoric civilizations. According to historian and archaeologist Muhammad al-Samar, the first human presence in the region dates back 160,000 years, according to the remains discovered in the caves of the Sultan and Hawara. The city of Sail was first known as a small Berber village. Its construction dates back to around 1500 BC. They established a huge store there, known in their time as Silvas. During the time of the Kingdom of Mauritania, the city of Sail flourished, especially after King Baka made it his capital, and it acquired an important position in the ancient world. During the reign of Kings Yuba I and Ptolemy the Mori, public buildings were constructed, and the city was able to gain autonomy and mint coins bearing its name. Sail reached the height of its splendor at the beginning of the 3rd century AD, as it was the only anchorage for Roman sailing ships which supplied the Romans with all their agricultural crops and brought from them all kinds of goods and types of manufactures Romans. In the 5th century AD, the city of Chilla became affiliated with the Western Roman Empire, and this decade did not end until the Moors split from the Romans and established emirates and states independent of the Vandals and Byzantines, and were later known for their effective resistance during the Islamic conquest of Morocco. A few decades after the Islamic conquest, the region experienced the Berber Revolution, which ended the Umayyad presence in Morocco, so the country split into a number of Umayyad Islamic states, and the struggle for the city of Chilla was great between the Bergawati, the Studi, the Maknas and others, before it was finally seized by the Banu Ifrin, who founded the current city on the north bank of the Breg, and their emir, Tamim bin Ziri, built the largest mosque in the city in the year 1029. In the year 1073 AD, Yusuf ibn Tashfin sent his great commander, Abd Muhammad Muzid Ali ibn Sultan, in a great army to the city of Sail. He conquered it and annexed it to the Almoravid state. The city, with its two parts, was known to be in great ruin after this great struggle between the states and the emirates to annex the city, so its position declined during the Almoravid era. The Almohads came to power and Abd al-Mumin ibn Ali al-Muwahhid led fierce battles for the unification of North Africa and Andalusia. The city of Sail was one of the most important fortresses he conquered in 1145, after a siege and the refusal of its inhabitants. One of the historians told the story of this conquest and said, Sail was opened by a man called Yaqoub and his two sons, Muhammad and Ali, and it was because they sent to the Almohads, so they reached them at night and made ladders, so they climbed the wall with them, and killed all they found on the wall, and entered hall, and found people there, and others fled into the gorge of the valley, so he returned to them, so they drowned, so he feasted Abd al-Mumin celebrated Eid al-Adha, and Abd al-Wad al-Sharqi took charge of it, and he established sale on the obedience of monotheists until al-Masih said. Ibn Hud appeared in the country of Sut, then he killed the people of Saul who treated them and presented his father in a hoodie. Caliph Abd al-Mumin ibn Ali directly ordered the demolition of the southern wall of the city in order to facilitate its control. Amazigh families who came from Ifriqiya and Tunisia now housed it, and they established orchards there and taught its inhabitants the methods of irrigation and planting, so that the city returned to its status. Caliph Abd al-Mumin dealt with the navy, due to the importance of this aspect in military strategy, so he meant the establishment of fleets until their number reached 400 pieces, and Ibn Khaldun decides that the Muslim fleets achieved in the time of this prince what they had not achieved before or after in terms of numbers, nor in terms of quality of industry, mastery of towers engineering and knowledge of maritime affairs. At that time, cities located on the sea in Morocco, Andalusia and North Africa were bustling with movement and activity, as historian Hamid bin Khalid al-Nasri testifies in the survey, which focuses on the arsenal of the city of Sale, which is the manufacturing house in which the naval fleets were made, to which aloes were brought from the forest of Marmora. It is made there and then sent to the valley, and it was a big deal in the Almohad state. The Marinites succeeded the Almohads in the African quarters, and the two enemies, Sale and Rabat, had been subject to Abu Ya'il bin Abd al-Haq al-Marani since 1250. But Sale's fortunes were better, as the Marinids began to enlarge and embellish it, until it gradually became an active center of commerce and business. Marmel notes in this regard, Sale since the 13th century, the city of Sale has been the richest and most affluent port of the kingdom of Fez. Merchants in the cities of Pisa, Genoa and Venice bought from Sale wool, leather, clothing, carpets, ivory, wax and honey from Meknes, and sold in return fabrics and artifacts at Sale. This prosperity was not without arousing ambitions towards the city, the Marinids and the Christians vying for its capture. In 1260, the King of Castile, Alfonso the Wise, sent a squadron that seized the town of Sale on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr, killing the men and capturing the women and children. It was the first Moroccan city to be attacked by the Europeans, and Sultan Abu Yusuf of Taza came to break the siege, which lasted 14 days, during which the ruler of the two enemies, Yaqoub ibn Abdullah, is fortified in the Rabat al-Father. Sultan Abu Yusuf captured the city, so he closed the gap opened in the western wall, which allowed entry to the city square, and after that he built a workshop for warships. In the year 1279, Abu Yaqoub bin Abi Yusuf gave his orders with the intention of plundering the Green Island, equipping the ships of Sale and other coastal cities and gathering them in Saud, Tangier and Sale, and that in the year 1285 the contribution of Sale alone in the fleet was represented by 36 warships under the orders of Abu Yaqoub. Large residential groups came to Sale from Saud, Tetuan, Tlemcen, Oran, Bhi, Constantine, Tripoli, and even from Syria and Turkey. Other European elements settled in Sale and enriched its heritage and its pluralism. And the English researcher Kent Brown mentions that most of the Christian, Jewish and Mage population who came to the Sale metropolis converted to Islam, and the historian Muhammad bin Ali al-Dukalai mentions that the Jews who emigrated from Spain in 1492 brought with them a number of displays of Andalusian sophistication to Sale. It should be noted that nearly 400 Jewish widows settled in Sale after their expulsion of Portugal at the end of the 16th century AD. Historian Ben Darley al-Dukalai adds that the Jews lived in great prosperity from the 3rd century AD to the 18th century AD due to their monopoly over commercial and banking transactions and the performance of important warehouse tasks such as the embassy to the nations of Europe. By trade, he held the position of general banker to Sultan Mullah Ismail bin Darley al-Jarif in the early 18th century AD and signed the 1721 treaty with the British on behalf of the Sultan and at the same time was captain of the Moroccan Jews. Since the Kingdom of Granada came under Spanish rule in 1492, the Arab presence in Andalusia ended and the persecution of Muslims began, killing, displacing and converting in northern Morocco and Tunisia, and many of them they were subjected to pillage and captivity of their daughters by the Bedouins. Before they could settle definitively in the centers of their choice. He was one of the Moriscos who settled in the town of Sale, of origin of the Hornicos of the Extremadura region, and they formed a clan with special privileges in Spain, where they had the right to bear arms with the recognition of King Philip II in exchange for the provision of 30,000 ducats. And since they are warriors and skilled in the use of firearms, they took with them to their new place their instinct for control and their love of independence, and so they had to play the main role in the city that they adopted, so they repaired the walls, reinforced the towers, and opened outlets for the batteries of cannons in the Kasbah that Sultan Zaidan al-Nasir ibn Hamid al-Saadi to the various regiments of Moriscos terminated in certain regions of Morocco, trying to strengthen its economic position by assigning it royalties port customs, and they began to engage in piracy in the ocean Atlantic, offering a tenth of their resources to Sultan Zaidan al-Nasir bin Hamid, who confessed to them in this way, but their inability to help him militarily forced him to resort to the empowerment of Abu Abdullah al-Aishi on them. Over time, it became clear that there were deep divisions between the indigenous population of Sale and the Moriscos in Rabat, as well as between the Moriscos under the control of the Hornicos in the Kasbah and other refugees, whose number was increasing day by day, and they reluctantly endured the domination and tyranny of their citizens, and suffered from their expulsion from the government, especially the frustration they felt at being deprived of the benefits which the city derives from various levies, and they insistently demanded that they take their share in the administration and benefit from customs revenue, but the Hornets refused their request. Murad Reis the Younger, first leader of the Salawi Maghreb Republic in 1629, their grievances took the form of a civil war, which ended after the English consul, John Harson, ceased intervening between them with the help of the leader of a local religious group. This war led to a decrease in pirate activity in Sale. Thus, the city of Sale experienced serious political events during the Second Saadian era, during which the emirate of Mujahid al-Ayshi, the pupil of Wali Abdullah bin Hassan, one of the Sultan of Zellij, who almost took control of all Morocco, was established there, and the movement of jihad ships was reinforced in its ports, which led to the establishment of the Republic of Maghreb and the control of the Dalays in the end. And one can imagine, as the scholar Muhammad Haji says, the extent of the immense wealth of this region if one knows that the Mujahideen of the seas, or the Seleucid pirates as the Europeans call them, have in just 2 years took control of 40 ships, and between 1618–1626 they seized 6,000 prisoners of the Franks, and £5–10 million. However, this huge economic boom was not accompanied by a proper scientific boom, and perhaps one of the most important reasons was the internal unrest and problems Morocco was floundering in, especially the occupation of the beaches, which pushed the Seleucids to devote themselves to resistance the enemy in Marmara and Jadida, while working in maritime jihad. It should be noted that foreign literature provided more information about this phenomenon, but this was only related to the political and economic history of European countries in their trade and diplomatic relations with Morocco, and in the perspective characterized by a strong bias towards their proposals affected by religious and political affiliation. Alawite kings are known to have reigned generally in the sea. Jihad movement experienced a slow decline with them, and the main characteristic of the Abu Maghreb estuary became the ruler of Qom during the reign of Sultan Ismail, who watched this region closely. The status of Sale is evident to them after the recovery of the city of Madi'a from the hands of the Spaniards in 1681, and many Seleucid Mujahideen took part in this conquest. The French side demanded compensation for the looted property, and negotiations took place between the representative of France and Muhammad al-Khatib, the Sultan's deputy in tenure, which yielded no results. After a few months, France decided to resort to a muscular revenge against the Salines. On November 16, 1851, the French Minister of the Navy appointed a commander of protection, Contrabel de Bourdieu, and placed at his disposal the fleet made up of 5 guns. And at 10 o'clock on November 25, the bombardment began. This caused severe damage to the city walls, its largest mosque and its minaret, which was hit by 6 shells, and some houses were demolished and others caught fire. As a result, relations between Morocco and France were broken for several months. On May 16, 1930, the French administration launched a barbaric treaty, through which it tried to create the kind of separation between Moroccans who spoke Arabic and those who spoke Tamazight. This is to bring the amazes to the French, claiming that they have lived in Morocco since ancient times, and that they have no connection with those who speak Arabic, and the old customs must be revived for them, such as, that women do not inherit, that they are not subject to judicial decisions, that they do not write in Arabic, that they do not learn it or speak it. Thus the authorities French have deliberately created Berber schools in which Berber and French are taught. Faced with this colonial arrogance, the youth of the national movement moved in a wave of protest called the Latif movement, and it was called by this name because it relied on the seizure of mosques as its main outlet. To educate Moroccans on the seriousness of the French policy aimed at creating a division between Arabs and Berbers, and the faithful were asked to repeat this supplication, "O my God, we ask you for benevolence in what happened and make no distinction between us and our fellow barbarians." Fez and other mosques in the kingdom, to become a movement that will transcend national geographical boundaries due to the role that Sheikh Barslan played in propaganda for the Dahir in the Arab East and some European countries. In 1934-80, Ahmed Manino was imprisoned with his friend Muhammad Hafsar for 2 months due to the closure of 20 cellars in Sale as part of a large popular demonstration. In the same year, 10 Moroccan patriots, including al-Fathi, al-Hashimi al-Filawi and al-Makki al-Nasiri, and among them was Abiud Bakr al-Qadri, who at the time was the youngest of between them at the age of 20, filed a memorandum containing the demands of the Moroccan people in the field of public freedoms, such as freedom of the press, the reform of justice and the elimination of corruption, but the French authorities dithered. He announced his categorical rejection in 1936, and the group held a small conference to formulate urgent demands for the Moroccan people at the same time as he led a group of protests. Sale is located in the region of Rabat Sale Zelmouter. It is bordered to the east by the province of Kenneset, to the south by the prefecture of Rabat, to the west by the Atlantic Ocean, and to the north by the province of Kenifra. The city of Sale, whose area grew during the second half of the 20th century, is now divided into 5 municipalities: Bab El Merisi, Betana, Sin, Lida and Tubriket. Tubriket is the most populated province while Mining is the least populated. By calculating the difference for the population of these two regions between 1994 and 2004, we see that Tubriket and Betana have a difference of 100,000 people. In 1994, it was the most populous liner in the 3rd arrondissement, but its population has increased slightly in the 10 years since the 2004 census, and it is the least populated arrondissement. The most demographically advanced provinces have seen, between 1994 and 2004, the population almost doubled from 74,930 to 163,672. 83,777 to 118,233 for Leda. The city of Sale is considered a rival sister city of Rabat, and it is characterized by its own culture and identity, as it is much older than Rabat, which was only founded in 1150, while Sale dates back to Roman times. River separates the city of Sale from the capital, Rabat. The city of Sale consists of several quarters, which are the oldest in the ancient city: the Jewish quarter Mellah and the Old French quarter called Al-Ramble, which includes an old church. The ancient city was founded in the 12th century by the first Almohads, and includes fountains, riads and mosques. Bab El Merisi provides access to the Old Town. There is also in the Old Town the district of Castile, which is a deformation of the word Castile. This Castilian district has settled many families of Andalusian origin since the Marinid era, such as Bent Said, Samar, Znebr, Ethni Ish. The Mellah is the old Jewish quarter in which a large community of Jews settled before the fall of Granada. The city of Sale is the capital of the prefecture of the same name, in which there are 2 urban communes, Sale and Sidi Bou El Kandil, and 2 rural communes, Amr and El Sahol. 2004, according to the last census, was 823,485. The climate of Sale is Mediterranean with an oceanic influence due to its location on the Atlantic coast. The territory of the city belongs to semi-humid bioclimatic variations with semi-arid and humid semi-arid climatic transitions. It is subject to the dual continental and oceanic influence, and rainfall varies between 500 and 600 mm/year. The rainy season extends from October to March and the dry season from April to September. Rainfall covers an average of 70 to 90 days per year. Local wines, especially the sea breeze, relieve excessive heat and, in combination with other elements, place the city in semi-humid bioclimatic variations. The sale markets are very popular for their crafts and culture, organized as a neighborhood gathering for each trade. We find al-Qasariyan for the sale of fabrics and jewelry, the Karasan shoemakers, the Shatratan sellers of woolen threads, the cuppers barbers, the carpenters who manufacture the art of carpentry, the perfumers selling spices and others, in plus the famous Al-Kabir market and Al-Ghazal market. Anyone who contemplates the architecture of the houses of the ancient cities can clearly see the cultural and ethnic diversity of its inhabitants who have lived there for centuries. The Arab Islamic style is dominated by its tall and intricate iron walls and balconies, and the wooden armored doors, which the residents are artistically decorated with nails, brackets and rings, as they represented the only indicator of the luxury of the family in a conservative style. Company and an attached structure. In this structure, we also find the Western style of foreigners, including Christians, Jews and Arab Jews. They all lived side by side in a single and harmonious society, with respect and tolerance for centuries before their departure in the middle of the 20th century. Like the rest of the ancient Moroccan cities, the city was fortified with an impregnable wall that reached the length of 4 kilometers and 500 meters, 4.5 kilometers, extended over an area of (?90 hectares. The city walls of Sale, facing each other in the city of Rabat, are considered to be one of the first defensive fortresses of the city, built during different historical periods, supported by large towers to protect the city raids by foreign fleets. When you arrive in the town of Sale, you will find in front of you the historic wall that surrounds the whole town. Once you enter the city of Sale, we advise you to visit Bab El Merisi, which is the largest historical gate in Morocco. It was built in the city of Sale by the Marinid Sultan Abu Yusuf Yaqoub bin al-Haq, while he participated in the construction work between the years 1270 and 1280. The mosque of the largest mosque remains in Sale, and what the inhabitants of Salawi call the Great Mosque, and it is considered among the spiritual and scientific feats that characterize the city, and it is considered one of the largest mosques of Islam world. The Dar Belghazi Museum. Among the main museums in Sale you will find a variety of musical instruments, in particular Andalusian and Berber, ancient weapons and traditional clothing, carpets, fountains decorated with zellijes, coins, Quranic texts and much more. Others. On March 5, 1987, King Hassan I bin Mohammed inaugurated the Dar al-Sultan, a symbol of national sovereignty because it allows Morocco to produce its currency. The Dar al-Sultan of Bank al-Maghrib specializes in the printing of banknotes and the minting of coins. The economy of the city has become in a good position after the construction of the great economic center Technopolis, which has become of great importance and has shaken the economy not only of the city of Sale, but also of neighboring cities such as Rabat, Tamara, Skirat and New Sale, and these centers have many and multiple jobs that provide graduate students with an employment opportunity. The city of Sale is the first Moroccan, Mediterranean, African and Arab city to sign the Treaty of Mayors, a project funded by the European Union, whose main objective is to contribute to sustainable energy. As part of the SURE project, the city of Sale hosted the Energy Days on September 10 and 11, 2012 under the theme Acting Together to Make the City of Sale a Green City, and hosted the International Conference on Energy on 12 and September 13, 2012 on the theme Renewable Energies at the Service of Sustainable Urban Development. The experience of the town of Sale. The agricultural sector plays a fundamental role in the regional economy, given the diversity of the economic activities practiced, and the efficiency of the irrigation circuits, which extend over vast areas, such as the number of arable lands in the Rabat Sale Zellij region is approximately 443,000 hectares. The city of Sale was satisfied with the local agricultural product, because there was in the vicinity of the city what is called al-Suwani, which once provided Sal with what she needed in terms of vegetables, fruits, meat and milk. Al-Sabunchi, Sanias al-Sharqai, Sanias Nibr, Sanias Awad, Sanias Budalo, Sanias Bashra, Sanias al-Melki, Sania al-Zawadi, Sanias al-Mahdi and others. Exports from the craft sector in Sale reached a value of 41,485,614.31 dirhams during 2006, representing more than 70% of total exports from the region of Rabat Sale Zellij, and employing a large number of workers estimated at 47,000 makers. men and women, 40% in textiles, 25% in the architecture sector, 35% in the service sector, because this sector contributes to local development, brings hard currency and revitalizes tourism in the city. The urban bus network includes around 60 lines connecting the cities of Rabat, Sale and Tamura. As for rail transport, the city of Sale has 3 stations: Sale Station, Sale to Rakat Station and Sidi Bouknatal Station. Another station is expected for the high-speed train project at Technopolis Sale, which will connect Rabat Sale to Tangier in 1 hour and Casablanca in half an hour. If you are in the capital, Rabat, you can reach the city of Sale in 5 minutes by train for only 10 dirhams, or the tramway Rabat Sale for 6 dirhams, or by car or grand taxi, via the Moulay Bridge El Hassan, which is the bridge connecting the 2 cities, and which witnesses the daily passage of 350,000 citizens. As for the carpet industry, it is now special in Sale in terms of perfection, quality, beauty and amazing figures. This manufacture is always popular in all Western countries and regions, and it is range even in the countries of the Franks. As for the pottery industry, it is still one of the greatest crafts in all Doton, except that it transferred all its laboratories to Rabat, and only to houses of pottery. The lined pottery is transported to Marrakesh, Fez, Meknes, and the rest of the Maghreb countries, which are not limited to. This double type was almost peculiar to my enemies, Sale and Rabat. As for tanning, it was one of Sale's greatest trades. And mastering this craft in tanning, dyeing and coloring leather, how to bead shoes, etc., was once for the 2 enemies. Then he shared with them others from the Maghreb, Kafas, Tetuan and Marrakesh, and their situation was weak in this. And he used to calculate what he was transporting baskets from foreign countries, such as Egypt, Alexandria and others, the amount he was transporting from the rest of the countries of Morocco and its regions. Impossible forever. This craft and what is made of it still subsists at certain seasons of the year. It is therefore marketed with its factories in the neighboring valleys, with its tanneries in Fez and Marrakesh. The art of zellij is very common in the architectural style of Sale. Very colorful and flowery, it has been very popular since the Marinids and had its hour of glory after the expulsion of the Moriscos from Spain, who brought their know-how not only to Sale but also to Rabat and Fez. The arrival of some Muslim Andalusians, and also after the expulsion of the Moriscos from Spain to Sale, greatly affected the language spoken at that time, which is why we find certain words taken from Spanish or Turkish. The transformations resulting from Andalusian Arabic present certain peculiarities, since they tend to feminize or diminish the words. This discourse was formed over time until it created a dialect specific to the city, which is still heard today in the language of families of Slavic origin. Please subscribe, like and activate the bell if you like the content, so we can continue for more. Give your opinions and suggestions in the comments so that we can develop the channel. Thank you.